Hi, this is Mark with my analysis for the week commencing the 3rd of March. Now, last week there was mixed news out for the USD with positive figures here and negative then on Friday. But a real conundrum was the New Zealand dollar. On Monday there was very positive, much better than expected retail sales, which is good for the New Zealand dollar, and it started to go back up again. And then the real, to me, I'm amazed that this is only orange flag news, but this was the trade balance. Now you have to bear in mind that at the moment China is punishing New Zealand. It has warned its citizens not to travel to New Zealand because it's too dangerous, which is just ridiculous. And they're punishing them as a reaction, a retaliation over the Huawei incident. And this figure, the revision for the previous month was, the estimate of the trade balance was 264 million, and it was revised down to 12. And then this month, or this month just gone, the estimate was minus 300 million. Therefore they imported 300 million more than they sold out the door, and in actual fact the figure was minus 914 million. That's 3 times worse than expected, and this is a squillion times worse than expected, and therefore that clearly was not very good. And then the business confidence is down as well. So the moral of all of this is we only want to sell the New Zealand dollar. The issue now, we're going to have a look in a moment, is trying to get into the thing. Now for the week ahead, last week we had a little bit of Aussie news, which was better than expected. A couple of weeks ago we had a scenario where there was Aussie news every day, and unfortunately this week seems to be another one like it. And again, I only want to short the Aussie dollar. I have to watch this one just after the market open. The biggie is the RBA statement, and get in the habit of reading the actual statement, not the full report, just the governor's statement, which is usually a page or two. And then there's a cash rate obviously tied into this. The moment nobody's expecting a cut, but if they give a clue as to future cuts, that again would not be good for the Aussie dollar. And then here, speeches. We're always a bit wary with speeches. And this one is a potential minefield because he's giving a speech about the housing market and the economy. And there is a real concern that there is a housing bubble in Australia, particularly in Sydney, where he's giving the speech and audience questions expected. So that could be very volatile as well. And then you've got GDP on Wednesday morning. So tricky. Retail sales on Thursday. So it's going to make it awkward for the Aussie dollar again. If we get a pullback back up, I will still take a short because I think overall I don't see anything has changed dramatically. Final one is Friday. We don't trade Fridays anyway, and we definitely don't trade NFP Fridays. For the moment there's no forecast showing. It would be unlikely, one would expect, that it would be anything near as much as last month, but wait until this updates to see what the expectation is. Then the other thing you have to watch are the average hourly earnings. Last month's was the worst increase I think for 2 years. So it's all about inflation, growth and interest rates that we're looking at for the valuation of a currency. So often you get mixed data. Then for the news, a bit concerning that there may be some gaps at the weekend. Trump's had another go at Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, saying that he doesn't want interest rates too high. Last time he did this, then the stock market set off and the dollar came down. So there is a danger of some big, and apart from which he was kicking everybody and anybody at the week, and he was having a real old rant. And then another possible gap is that the EU, as it's getting nearer and nearer, their chief negotiator, who's had the Brits over a barrel for a while, is now making noises. A month ago they said they wouldn't do anything about the backstop. Now they're saying as it's getting nearer and nearer to the wire that they may do. So as ever, keep your eye on the news. Reuters is a good read and it's free, and that gives you some background to what's happening around the world. And I particularly like this, the Take 5. They give you 5 themes for the week. So they're talking about May and making a U-turn, and they're on about Trump walking away from North Korea. Now this is really important. It's not showing on Forex Factory, but there is a meeting to discuss, for the ECB to discuss the way forward. And the expectation is there's going to be more loans, there could be more QE, which would definitely mean that the interest rates wouldn't rise this year. They may talk about that as well. Germany only just avoided recession in the last quarter. If you get 2 quarters, I can't remember the figure now, but they escaped it by a fraction. Italy is in recession and their banks are in a mess. So all of this could be very negative for the euro. So we could be on for a run down beyond 113 and possibly beyond 112 and a bigger drop. So keep your eye out for news coming out for that. This is to do with NFP Friday, and then this is Turkey Central Bank. We don't trade the Turkish lira. As ever, I keep up to date on newsnow.co.uk with what's happening with British politics, particularly what's happening for Brexit. And this is an article in one of the Sunday papers. The hardline Brexiteers are now beginning to back down a bit as well, because they realise that time's getting close, and what they're concerned about is being forced into another. All of this with technical analysis. Ignore the gap on here. I'm going to have to stop using Think Forex. We started getting some weird gaps appearing on these demo account. But here I was looking at, this is a range that we've been trading, and I was saying at 113 I wasn't going to short here because it just keeps fizzling out. But if this news comes out on Wednesday that's really bad, this could go on a real run. The hope is if it can get back up here earlier in the week, I would definitely be interested to short here, and if it broke even I would take it again at 116. These are major areas. The final option, if it drops like a stone, this would be Wednesday. You would then need the pullback, which is Thursday, then you've got NFP Friday. But if this goes on a bigger run down here, then pulls back, we could be back on for 105. As ever, watch the Swissy. If the euro's dropping, the Swissy is going up. It was trapped in a range. Last week spiked lower, now come back towards the range. AUD, we just talked about the housing situation. I am looking to short at 72.30. Remember, you follow the trend line down, and we've also got the EMAs up there and 61.8 at the recent move. So there's everything going on up around here. Stop above there, or if you're really conservative, up here. But this could be a big move on the Aussie. New Zealand dollar, just shown you in recent weeks. Last week it came back up to the area I suggested, a short at 6,900. Then it had that big news, dropped back into all these EMAs, and as ever, just to tease us, it sat on 6,800, fractionally below. But if it drifts higher, I would definitely short. If it makes a move lower, I would then look for a pullback into 6,800 for the short. This is where we're at now, 67.97, just to tease. But if it pulls back up anywhere up here, I only want to short. The yens, watch the Nikkei, and I've shown you this in recent weeks. It went sideways for days and days. And for weeks we've had it with the dollar yen not being able to break higher. Friday it's broken higher, and as a result the USD yen has broken out of its tight range and is following it higher. I have 112.30 as a recent high and major area of previous support and resistance, so I wouldn't long here. But if it pulls back down to 111 and definitely 110.30, I would be interested to long this pair. Aussie yen, you're in a channel, so you're interested to long at 7,900 and short, and I revised it now because again we follow the trend line up. I'd be interested to short at 8,100. As ever, watch the Nikkei. And the euro yen's coming up to a similar area. So anywhere, I was talking last week, 127.80, 90 is clearly the big area on this pair. I would be interested to short. If it breaks and closes above and that loses, I would then consider a long, because we could be back on up to 130. Oil, now I've shown you in recent weeks and months, you pay attention to the Nikkei for the yens and you pay attention to oil for the Canadian dollar. They are a major exporter of oil, particularly to the US. And the other week Trump came out and said that OPEC, please put the price, well he didn't say please I don't think, drop the price of oil, the world can't afford it, it's too fragile. OPEC did something, the price of oil dropped like a stone, and as a result the USD went up against the Canadian dollar. Now it's drifted back up again, and notice it's banging into all these EMAs, all technical indicators we use for trading Forex, and then on Friday it did it again. And so as a result of the drop in the oil price, what did the Canadian dollar do? Bang, off it went against all currencies. The Canadian dollar weakened dramatically. Now it's coming up to 133.00. There's a lot going on here. As Nita has pointed out, this is a inverse head and shoulders. This could be the neckline. So then you measure from the head to the neckline. It could be a 250 pip move up, which would take us up around the recent high. So that's a possibility. For me, I wouldn't long it until or unless it breaks above 133.30. And if you want to be really conservative, above 133.8. Then you want the pullback, then you want the move. I would prefer it to come back down again, and if it came back down again anywhere around 130-140, I would be interested to long once again. Other options, obviously, if it drops below, then we start thinking of a short. But at the moment, keep your eye on oil if you're trading the CAD. And obviously the Euro CAD did the same thing. It's come back into the area, but I am going to watch and wait and see what happens with the USD CAD first. Euro New Zealand drifting higher. If it gets to 6,900, I am interested to short. Pound, so frustrating. Brexit, 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 but it has been doing its thing of late. I think Nick mentioned in the Tuesday session, it's actually been Murphy's Law, it's been quite reliable. If it comes back down to 130,300, and I'm talking about if it drifts back down to 130, then I will be interested to long. The danger with this, of course, just like we saw with the CAD, where it shot up because the price of oil dropped, if there's some Brexit news comes out positive, this could go 500 pips. Equally, if it comes out and it's negative, it could go hundreds of pips. There is an element of price already being factored in. I don't think there's likely to be a definitive negative answer in the coming weeks, because May has said that there will be a debate in Parliament on the 12th of March. So I don't expect any kind of crazy drop, but it could happen. But if we get a positive, and there's talk that she can get a deal through in Parliament, and we're still on for the 29th of March, this could shoot up, guys. So it's risky, but certainly worth watching. Euro pound did the perfect pullback last week, missed it, or a couple of weeks ago. Haven't moved the fib down here. So if it pulls back up anywhere around 88.30, and those of us who were trading this last year know this was a key major area, then I will be interested to short this. And even if it shoots up, and it only does 50 pips on an average day, if it does 200 Monday, Tuesday, then I would still be interested to short. And bear in mind that news on Wednesday about the ECB, if it does come back up here, then it's just as likely to drop again after that news. So messy, but we're getting some movement at last. Final ones, you can be looking at 95 and 96 for the Aussie dollar CAD, and the Euro Aussie did a breakout that Nita pointed out to me. I'm more interested position wise to short up at the top or long down at the bottom. Okay, that's it for now.